Many thanks for staying with us, and of course it's the continuation of your current affairs program TMI, reaching you live from our Lagos Network Center on the ITV network. I am Joshua Okata, and of course I have my co-anchor Patricia Gabriel. What's up, Patricia?
Thank you, Josh. I am Patricia Uremu Gabriel. Thank you for staying on with us on TMI this morning.
All right, going forward, our program this morning from our Lagos Network Center would be the long debated issue. Of course, you heard my colleague from Abuja, Igarata, that asked the question, how much is a kilometer? Especially given the fact that we will be looking at the much debated Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway Showdown, which happened over the weekend between the Minister of Works, David Umahi, and of course the Governor of Oyo State in the person of Makinde, who accused the Minister of dancing around the cost per kilometer of that Lagos coastal road, which would cut across major cities. I'm talking about Edo State, to be precise. And of course, to have this conversation with us this morning from our Lagos Network Center, I am being joined by Barrister Jide Ologun, who is a legal practitioner and of course a public affairs analyst. Good morning once again, Barrister Jide, and thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Good morning, Barrister.
You're welcome.
Before we go into our conversation this morning, it's very much important for us to also inform our audience as regards what we have currently in the state of things concerning the road project that has been embarked on by the federal government through the Ministry of Works. Nigeria, as we have it today, is estimably around 195,000 kilometers of road network. But of course, 60,000 kilometers of such road are paved. Unfortunately, we have about 135,000 kilometers of such roads untarred. Now the question is, why gulp 3 trillion naira on a new road project when we have about 135,000 kilometers of such roads untarred?
Thank you very much. I believe that is an issue on the platform of prioritization. So the government is in place to develop infrastructure, to give the right support to national developments. And that's also why we have the National Assembly in charge of appropriation, to ensure that we prioritize the attention to this infrastructure. But what has been discovered over the years is that we seem to lack the maintenance culture in Nigeria, because some of these roads you have mentioned have been constructed years back, and it should have been part of the project implementation that how long can this road be of effective service for the purpose for which we are building the roads. And if that is not done, it will get dilapidated, and there's what we call the effect of nature, weather. For instance, now, by the time the rainy season is over in Nigeria, many roads would have been terribly affected. And that is why, you know, from a research I did, you may have better and stronger roads in the northern part of the country because they are not in the rainforest region than in the southern part of the country, you know, because of the effect of all this. But we should have factored it in and realized that maintenance is very important. You know, we're discussing this matter somewhere, and I said in the US, I think we were going to Washington from Columbia, and on our way back in the night, I saw them walking on the road, and I asked my younger one, what's going on? No potholes, nothing. And he told me that there is a record of that road, and it's like there is an expiry time, that at so time you must resurface this road for it to be of good service to the citizens. And I have shared this joke here before, I suppose. I was discussing with my younger one in the US from Nigeria here. He was going to Midland from Houston, about 12 hours journey, and at the point I said, AY, safe journey, and he laughed. And I said, why are you laughing? He said, in America you don't say safe journey, you say enjoy your trip. Because the roads are good. Yeah, say, enjoy your trip, man. And, you don't say safe journey. Okay, and I apologized. Enjoy your trip, man.
That was a learning curve.
Exactly. So it's important that what we invest on is maintained, and that is the spirit of sustainability. Otherwise, somewhere along the line, the investment becomes a waste. And when you look at the effect on the economy, accidents, different kinds of obstructions to economic development. I recall a time under the previous tenure of former President Muhammadu Buhari that the tanker drivers were really shouting that the roads were bad and things like that. So we need to pay attention to that. But that is not to say that the signature project is not a good one. It is. I mean, I am one of those who commend it, because I have heard about that coastal road years ago.
So it was actually in the blueprint.
Exactly.
Okay, so while you're talking about that, I would want to pause my question at this point so that my colleague Patricia can also ask her questions before I throw more light on the issue of signature road that you talked about.
Okay, I'm going to leave you to throw more light on the issue of signature road, because I was going to follow up on what he has just said. But let's go back to Makinde and the minister. Over the weekend, Makinde says you were just asked a question and he seems to be dancing around. Anyway, for me, how difficult is it for the minister to just give the cost of the road per kilometer as being asked, because there must have been a contract between the federal government and the contractors, and all this would have been written down on a piece of paper? Or do you think the minister does not have a clue about the price?
The minister has. There are several factors that may be responsible for that. In this part of the world, to what extent are we accountable, and to what extent can we disclose? In the words of the Honorable Minister Dave Umahi, according to him, you need to wait. Let's conclude this project, then we'll let you know the cost because of exigencies and the fact that maybe it was a 143-kilometer route that extended to 145. All those arguments are tenable. But generally speaking, on the scale of accountability, if that request is made, I expect that the information should have been provided, at least in the interim, for the purpose of accountability and transparency, particularly in a country where the trust gap is very wide. And of course, Makinde, also in Oyo State, is embarking on road constructions. They are both engineers and things like that, So, and I must also say, commendably, Honorable Dave Umahi has brought an innovative approach to construction, road construction in Nigeria. I recall sharing my experience when Dangote was expanding his cement factory in Obajana. I was invited. I was there, in the days of former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And Dr. Makoju of blessed memory gave a lecture that the raw materials for producing cement in Kogi State could not be finished in 70 years. Secondly, that it is cheaper to construct roads with concrete than what we normally use in Nigeria. And thirdly, that it is cheaper to maintain roads that are constructed with concrete. And that's why I was very happy when I saw that done by the same Dangote between Apapa Port and or in Lagos. So there are innovations, but people just want to know. And again, don't forget that we're in a political era where Honorable Dave Umahi would have considered the comment of Makinde, Governor Makinde, as coming from opposition. But in public relations, Communication is very important. And what is communication? In simple terms, it is the giving and reception of information constructively. You see, so perhaps Governor Makinde could have commented in a different manner, but you know, journalists, they like such comments. And maybe also Honorable Dave Umahi could have responded
differently.
But I have a precedent here. You recall about 5 years ago when the then Minister of Labor was invited to the National House of Reps to speak on NSITF gate, you know, some investigations going on there. And Faleke posed a question to him. And those were the days of, oh, you are a Mushin boy, I am a Victoria land. You know, so again, I think it may be a cultural thing that in this part of the world, we have very little resistance to ego issues. And in human resource management, we call that emotional intelligence. You know.
All right. So
these are issues some we just laugh over and say, you know, and go ahead to explain what you need to explain.
Exactly.
So, given what you just said here, you know, and also put it in side by side with the supposed response that Dave Umahi gave to Makinde, viewing his comments, you know, about the road as a bit condescending. For me as an individual, I'm big on the ends of separating issues from personality as regards attacking an individual's personality. Now, the issue currently we're talking about is the Lagos-Calabar coastal road. My question to you would be, which is much better economically? Maintaining an existing road or going into a new project? That's one. Two, what do you think should be the major focus when going into a new project, especially gulping 3 trillion naira into a road? How much of such road economically would that be to Nigeria? Talking about our major agricultural reserves, the states where we can refer to having agricultural reserve. I'm talking about states like Jos, states like Benue, states like Sokoto. How much of these areas will this road touch to be able to force down the cost of food commodity, even if we still know that fuel largely would impact on the cost of our food?
Thank you very much. Let me say that they are all very important, and that is why I started on the scale of prioritization. You need to maintain existing roads because they were built for a purpose. Let's start from the rail system in Nigeria. You'll be amazed that the rail system, I think as far back as 1896 or thereabout, you know, you talk about linking the Apapa port with some, you know, areas to move goods. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So economy is the focus. So if you have roads, maintain them. And I believe also there are projects linking all those agricultural locations we are talking about. But why attention is so much on the Calabar-Lagos coastal road is, like you said, the huge amount involved, the suspicion of the contractors involved, the prioritization of the project side by side of other lingering needs in the country. But let me say this. It is the role of the National Assembly to manage what we are discussing here. In Switzerland, you have 3 levels of democratic engagement. You have the canton, you have the states, and you have the federal. If it were to be in Switzerland, that project would not have been activated unless all the 3 levels vote for it. And that is why in 5 years space in Switzerland, there could be 13 elections. They actively get involved. But in Nigeria here, even the same National Assembly we are talking about, you just read, they've just approved borrowing of some money from somewhere, things like that. So you need to sit down and ask which is more important. You see, If a tenant is owing rent, it is not the time for him to go and buy a big smart TV and bring it in with the landlord looking at him from the balcony. Your first attention should be pay your rent,
your debt,
so that your landlord can congratulate you when he sees you bringing the smart TV, that, oh, God will bless you more. And that is the issue. I think we still need to tinker with prioritization in this country. What is very important, particularly when we appear to be dealing with scarce resources, which is the foundation of economics. So which one will deliver the highest value? There are still issues we are not even discussing yet about this coastal road. What about the tolling, the maintenance, all this? And those in the school of thought of the positivities of the project are saying it will open up new spaces, and I quite agree with that. You know, when we were in law school, all right, going to Victoria Land to law school from CMS in Lagos was Morocco Sandfield, nothing like Lekki, nothing like you know what I mean. And suddenly a policy came that, oh, this area must be developed. Now you have the Lekki, now you have the refineries of previously. The attraction in that axis is just to go to the Alpha Beach and go and see the ocean and everything. Now we have the deep sea port and things like that. So there is nothing wrong with expansion. You must push the frontiers of your infrastructural capacity. Look at China. You talk of the longest bridge, you know, great things happening there to engage the future. So that structural and infrastructural dynamism must be there, but you also prioritize. So some of us expect that while we are embarking on the signature projects across the country, why don't also let us look at the maintenance? You see, it's very important. And I can let you know that under the supervision of Honorable Dave Umahi, in the southeastern part of the country, some roads have been dualized and connecting. In fact, there is a proposed project from Badagry to Saukoto. So all those projects are there.
Okay, so now you're talking about a priority of a project that you call signature project. Now, as much as this can be referred to as a signature project in your words, where is this fund coming from, especially given the fact that it's something that must be done? And also you come to realize that as much as this project should commence, how much of our politicians use this road to make it so much of a priority? Because you know very well that we have other lingering issues. We just talked about the ASU issue a few hours ago, and yet an agreement reached since 2009 is yet to be implemented. Are they saying they don't have the money for it? If they do have the money for it, why are they not also prioritizing? Of course, that's a discussion for another day. But talking about priority, why give priority to a project that is barely new, which of course we have other roads that needs to be fixed, but you're going into a project that may likely not be used by these same politicians?
How I wish I were to be in the National Assembly, I would have raised that question. Because when you talk about government structure, that is the role of the 109 senators, 360 House of Reps member. You see, to ask, there is what you call scale of preference, there is what you call alternative for gun and things like that in economics, to look at it. But what do we have in Nigeria? The big question is still there. That is it in the interest of the nation or in the interest of individuals? And let me tell you, politicians, they will drive on that road. There's no doubt about it. Some are, it's a mixed issue. Some are excited about it. And again, it speaks to the fact that we have not maximized our resources in Nigeria. If we are in a country where there are no oil thieves, there are no illegal miners in the north mining our gold, where we don't have the level of economic sabotage we have, where there is sincerity of managing our resources, where there is creation of commonwealth for common good. My brother, my sister, nobody will even be asking how much is the road costing. But when we are in a situation when the projected indebtedness level of Nigeria status should be around 145 trillion naira as at July or August 2025, and it was 12.12 trillion naira in March 2015, people should be concerned. So if it's an environment where we have generated wealth, look at China. China is not just developing China. China is economically colonizing some parts of the world. Even America is not, they are not folding their arms because of and China is focusing on Africa and some other countries of the world, and that is what we are talking about. So you are very correct. One should be, and I've given instances here. I cannot imagine that our children are going back to school in 3 weeks time, and all we have is like 3 million naira, and the school fees is about 2.5 million, and I now decide to go and buy a Corolla of 2.9 million because we must give testimony that we I need to sit down with my family members and say, hey, if you educate these children, you are helping them stand on the long-term scale. But if we buy this car, it will depreciate. And that is why we have a government. I have given all the Switzerland example. We can go and read it up. In some countries of the world. And again, the presidential system of government we practice in Nigeria is unique. I've said it, the Nigerian president may be the most powerful in the world. You can see how Donald Trump is being held to accountability in the US with all his policies. You see the judiciary engaging him. But here, by virtue of Section 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the president is vested with executive power, and he displays that right now as we speak. Even in the Senate in Nigeria, we have 73 members in APC. That's simple majority out of 109 senators, and there may be more defections. That's what we are talking about. And these are people who are expected to come up, challenge policies, challenge projects on the purview of sustainable development within the resources available to the nation. You mentioned the case of ASU. Recently we read about 330 billion naira got transferred to the vulnerable at about 75,000 naira per family. Some have gotten the first tranche of 25,000, maybe some too, reportedly. Again, people are asking, let's have the transparent proof on this. 330 billion naira. How much is ASU asking for? You see, so these are issues of governance, and we are deep into it. But like I keep saying, if the National Assembly rose up to say no to the Calabar Lagos project, that suspended, so will it be. But if they have endorsed it, they are representing us. We have elected them to go out there because the democracy we practice in Nigeria is elective democracy, not like it started in Athens in Greece in those days, where everyone we have to come and really contribute to the direction the community is marching towards. You see, like they still do in Switzerland that I referred to. So these are issues.
Okay, because of our time, you said earlier on there's nothing wrong with expansion. Of course, yes, every country wants to expand, but we're talking about the timing. So Nigerians are saying that the government prioritized this road project over food security, national security, even education, just like we have talked about ASU now, who is starting a strike today, 2 weeks warning strike. What's your take on this?
I totally agree with that. Even the World Bank has also warned us. All right. And again, prioritization. I think I've mentioned it earlier today. That when the president was sworn into office, his first major action was to kick out fuel subsidy. Subsidy was gone and gone. But what about the revenue that accrued from it. This revenue got pushed to governors, to the point that the president himself went to the governors that, hey, I've given you people my money. Now, your people are complaining. A governor, Governor Sule of Nasarawa State, called his other governors over there that, come, we have enough money now to deal with insecurity and some of these challenges. You see, so that's prioritization. What about if when the fuel subsidy was removed, we look at the cost of transporting food around and we say, okay, let's bring in CNG kits and things like that. Those things are scarce now. Prioritization. Then let's deal with insecurity and ensure that farmers can farm, connect these areas, like you mentioned earlier, to where the products will be moved, then move to the secondary level of agroeconomy, because right now we are at the primary level and we even report wastage of harvested produce because we have not moved to the industrial level of refining
packaging
these products. And we are being advised by some international communities, but what do you expect in a situation where those who should be thinking in this direction are living in affluence? They appear not to be touched. Recently, the American embassy said that some governors are living flamboyantly while the people are suffering. We challenge them. You know, so these are issues of concern. But like I said, we have three arms of government, and under the civil management government, the National Assembly is unique. The National Assembly can approve and disapprove. Right now is the issue of nominating a chairman for INEC. If the Senate say no, it's no. The lobbying will continue. And if the Senate says, look at the emergency rule, or what do they call it, state of emergency in Rivers State. The Senate, the National Assembly ratified it, and so it stood. Now, the House of Assembly of Rivers State called for accountability of IBAs in those 6 months, and the man said he's not answerable to them. Suddenly we heard that the secretariat in the state has gone up in fire. So we have issues in this country, and majorly issue of accountability.
Good. So as we have, accountability as a deficit, a very huge deficit in Nigeria, our viewing audience are perhaps watching with their minds gradually being molded by thoughts, like you. So are we saying that this vicious circle will continue where both those in the public office are not prone to accountability, and those who are at the legislature are not willing enough to scrutinize projects that the executive pass, so as to know if this is directly going to impact on the living standard of Nigerians, if this will be in the interest of Nigerians? Are we likely to see that happening, or it's going to be the usual way where things are just going to be passed for passing sake, and then they go about executing that project, whether or not it's going to impact on the people or not?
There is hope, but it flows from leadership.
Do we have that in place as we speak? Because we're pressed
for time. If we have it in place as we speak, we'll not be having this discussion. So look at Rwanda, look at Singapore, where leadership placed emphasis on accountability, and they've enjoyed transformation.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Jide Ologun, legal practitioner and, of course, a public affairs analyst, for giving us your two takes on this.
It's my pleasure. God bless Nigeria.
You want to say something before we close?
Yes, thank you for joining us this morning. Yes, my name is Patricia Uremu Gabriels.
All right, that's the much we'll be having with you this morning from our Lagos Network studio. Many thanks for watching, and of course the program is not over yet.